I told one of my clients earlier, like she had H. pylori, which is a stomach infection. She has a parasite. And yes, those can be creating active present day symptomology that you're experiencing, but your body, it's like a scab that's never healing. What created the wound to begin with? And it's usually what weakened our system to begin with and what made us susceptible to those conditions, because your body is freaking robust and is such a miracle and is exposed to stuff all the time and is supposed to be able to get rid of it. But if it's weakened and almost always stress, you can have a variety of different umbrellas of stresses. Usually for most of us, it's a mental, emotional state.
Hey there, and welcome to the Heal with Grace podcast. I'm your host, Grace Secker, and I'm a holistic licensed therapist and nervous system coach who believes that the chronic and often unseen symptoms you're living with are a sign of something deeper going on, a sign that your nervous system needs attention. In each episode, I'll share the science behind the most common chronic health disorders, plus holistic tips using mental, physical, and spiritual practices. You'll hear what I've learned in my journey and the true stories from our trusted guests, so you can feel less alone in your experience and give yourself grace no matter what you're going through. So without further ado, settle in and get cozy. It's time to heal with Grace. Ashley, I'm so happy that you're here. Thanks for coming on the Heal with Grace podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's something we've talked about for a while. FYI, for people listening, Ashley and I are friends in real life. We have a BFF, and we met through her and have, hung out a few times and have similar but different frames of work. And I think they blend so beautifully. And so I'm really excited to hear from the functional nutrition perspective, as people always have so many questions around that. So, all right, without me going into so much more, let people know who you are, what you do, and a little bit about yourself.
Hi, she already said I'm Ashley. I'm a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. Say that 5 times fast. I'm also a restorative health practitioner. My specialties are in gut health and fertility. But as I say, practitioners kind of have to know a little bit about everything. But those are the main go-tos that I help a lot of my clients with, is related to gut health, fertility issues, and all of this could be chronic underneath the umbrella, you name it. So that's what I do. And I love it. I
How'd you
do.
get into it? I'm not sure I actually know that.
That's a great question. So I have a background, my degree's in biochemistry, and I started experiencing my own health issues. So weirdly enough, fall of 2020, I had applied to 2 different programs to be a naturopathic doctor in fall of 2020, and then also to do a doctorate in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine and herbalism. 2 very different programs. And I was super excited. I felt like I spent years trying to figure out the route I wanted to go. I debated between nutrition and all these other things. And the reason what kind of pushed me over the edge was I was a psycho high endurance athlete to the point where I fried my system out. And I had been a marathon runner for 12 years. Mom had died. And then I got bored of running and started doing triathlons and started dipping my toes into the Ironman series and all these things. And my body one day, I remember I had a marathon. 2 weeks later, I had a half Ironman. And within, I would say, a week, I struggled to get out of bed. And I'm a morning person. So that was very bizarre to me. And then as someone who had kind of battled acne on and off my entire life, my face exploded. And I couldn't figure out what it was. I tried every diet underneath the sun. I went vegan. I eliminated dairy. I eliminated gluten. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was showing up in different parts of my face. My hair stopped growing. It started falling out. I was waking up chronically at 3:30 in the morning. My sleep was poor. I just didn't feel like myself and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And that functional medicine wasn't super talked about or really heard of. And I was living in the Midwest at the time. That for sure is very more traditional sense. And I kind of started doing my own research at that point, moved to LA for a bit, started hearing different communities there talk about functional medicine and root cause. And I was like, what is that? And eventually found that program. COVID hit. I got stuck in Colorado at that time, and I met a girl here who ran her own practice that I became really good friends with. And I was like, how can you talk the same jargon? I've always been a health nut and nerd. My entire life has always been quite health conscious, including my family. And she told me the program she went through and all the things. So I switched programs, went to a different schooling program, and have just nerded out ever since. Completely healed my body. It was fascinating how quickly I could do that once I was really intentional about it. And I'm like, more people need to know this. Like, why didn't anyone tell me? And so that's where I kind of dove in. And now that I'm in my mid 30s, mid upper, I am also very passionate about fertility because I'm not married. I don't have kids yet. And I want to, as I'm optimizing my body, teach other women and how, like, you don't have to be 29 and having kids. You can have kids later in life and all the pieces that I've seen missing. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with all of this.
Okay, I have multiple questions about that. Do you mind if I stick here for a second about
Dive
your
in, girl.
nursery
Let's
story? Okay.
go. Yeah.
This is good. We're gonna go in many places. So,
Mhm.
because you and I can go deep. We can go deep fast. So, first and foremost, you described the scenario that so many, probably like everyone listening to this is in when they are what they think they're like thriving in their life, right? Like there's a lot of intense athletes and people who have been living their life in that way for a long time, right? Or maybe they were like at the top of their career or like they had all these things happening and going, right? And then something happens to their body and they're like, what the hell? I thought everything was fine. How do you conceptualize that time now? Like, how do you say, oh, this is what was happening and this is why my body reacted? Like, in your words, how do you explain that?
Yeah. I think, like, one, I'm the eldest daughter, says a
Okay.
lot. Hi, what's up? Eldest daughter syndrome. Number two, I had a mentor, bless his heart. He's one of my favorite people. And are we allowed to curse on here or no? I was like, should I? Okay. He bluntly said to me, and this is one of the reasons why I have so much respect for him. He was so frustrated with me one day. He's like, if you'd spend half the fucking time that you do on your mental health and understanding yourself emotionally as you do on your physical, you'd get it by now. And I'm like, damn. And
Mm.
I always say people in the high endurance world, there's two things. And this is in most fields, like especially high functioning in any capacity. Like I was valedictorian, I graduated with honors, like I was like hammer mode. He called me the hammer. If everything was a nail. And so I was like, I can do it. I'm going to get it. And I wasn't slowing down. And in the high endurance world, I always say, you're either running towards something or running away from something. And at that point in time, my mom had just died. I was her full time caregiver for about 2 years beforehand. And when I entered the triathlon world, I started running in college and I hated running growing up. I was like softball, volleyball player, short sprints here or there. But I started running because it was the only thing that could shut my brain off. Through that runner's high, it's how I had therapy. My parents got divorced when I was in college, and that's when I started running. And that was my therapy all the way up until my mom died. Then I transitioned into the triathlon world, which was another distraction. And my body, at that time, I definitely wasn't fueling myself enough. I just didn't know. I was training with men who I was pushing myself to their level. And my body's like, we are not a small man. Like, what are you doing? And I was working a lot. I was flying a lot for work, existing on minimal sleep, just kind of like go, 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 still mindset, just not resting and also continually living my life without saying I wasn't saying no in my life. I didn't know how to use my voice. I was completely living out of alignment. And again, I thought I was doing all the right things, and I truly was not. A lot of all of that was adding to it for sure.
The way you describe that coming from a functional practitioner, I love. I mean, that's why you're here. Because,
Yeah.
like, you treat people on a functional physical level, right? But,
Hmm.
like, the way
Hmm.
that you described when I asked you why that happened, you described mental and emotional causes, not physical causes. You didn't say, "Well, this was
Nope.
happening in my gut and this was happening
Nope.
in my cells, blah, 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 blah," right?
Yeah.
Why did you start there? Like, this is great.
Because everything comes back to that. It's beautiful to me where, like, yes, you might have a parasite, you might have mold exposure, you might have all of these things, but if your body might respond differently to a mold exposure versus how my body does. Now, yes, that can be very dependent on things like genetics and all of that stuff. But, I told one of my clients earlier, like, she had H. pylori, which is a stomach infection, she has a parasite. And yes, those can be creating active present day symptomology that you're experiencing, but your body, it's like a scab that's never healing. What created the wound to begin with? And it's usually what weakened our system to begin with and what made us susceptible to those conditions because your body is freaking robust and is such a miracle and is exposed to stuff all the time and is supposed to be able to get rid of it. But if it's weakened and almost always stress, and again, you can have a variety of different umbrellas of stresses. Usually for most of us, it's a mental emotional state. It's the same thing that you can out psych yourself into doing anything. That reverse effect is also happening within our bodies that most of us are completely unaware of. I'm fine. Everything's great. I would have told you that when I was going through, like, I'm not, like, I don't know what you're talking about, So, oh yeah.
What do you mean by you said the reverse effect can happen by psyching ourselves out or psyching ourselves up. Say more about
So,
that.
like, as much as we can outthink, like, that neurofeedback and rewiring of, it's like they say, believe something like when you're manifesting, like, believe that it's already there, it's happening, and you'll create it. The same thing unconsciously is going on that all of these thought patterns that we have. So, especially with high functioning women, I feel like just most women in general, we will go through traumatic things in our life, not also realize how traumatic or intense they were. Again, someone doesn't have to be beating you for it to be a traumatic experience. And when you are moving through this, we will compare it. Like I was very guilty of that. Well, this isn't as bad as it used to be. And I was in a chronic state of fight or flight of survival mode for 15 years and I had no idea. Like my mom died and I thought like, that's it, that chapter has closed. I'm great. I can move on and we're just going to go into the next thing. But I was not actually dealing with the repercussions that was actually at a cellular level, the energy that my body was like, no, we haven't moved through this. And you are mentally distracting yourself and moving through it. And actually, you're not energetically. And so to me, the inverse is as much as we have this destination of being able to call whatever into our life or magnetize whatever, or that same frequency is still occurring at a really deep cellular level with the shit you haven't moved through, you know? So, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
It
Oh,
all goes
yeah.
together, right?
Yeah.
So like, okay, so because I talk about, yes, you can have, like you just said, right? You can have parasites, you can have mold in your body, you can have H. pylori, all the things, right? And so when you see that, when someone comes to you and see those things, you have them do the testing you want them to do,
Yeah.
and it pops up, right? Everybody's body probably has something, especially if they're coming to a functional practitioner. So how do you approach that? Knowing that you have all of this, okay, yes, it's mental, emotional, nervous system. Yes, obviously there's physical. Like, what do you do with that?
That's a great question. It's definitely a complex one because I think
Yeah.
it depends on one of my gifts, like you, is pattern recognition. And so someone might be telling me about their moldy house, but I can even tell in the way that they're speaking and the words they're choosing in their, like, even if it's a virtual experience, I can feel their frequency and I can tell how they rationalize things in their life. They're probably avoiding. Um, and we tend to make things matter of fact, put things in boxes so they're easy to understand for our brains. But when I'm not emotionally attached to their situation and I'm zooming out, because I can see the forest, they're just staring at the tree. And I'm like, I can see the forest. Is it bare? Is it there a drought going on? Are we in fall, winter? Like, where is this at? I will usually focus on nervous system first because whether or not someone thinks that's a part of it or someone's come to me and they've done all of this work with other practitioners, I'm like, let me get my hands on you and see like what still is sticky. And sometimes it is a gradual process with some of these people. Like I've had people open up to me after a few months that I knew something was going on, but they're still building their trust with me. And they've told me insane things that they've been through that they didn't share on the initial consultation forums or all of this. And so it's building the trust between me and my client to starting sometimes with something small, because especially for high functioning people or recovering perfectionists, I say is type A, is you can't throw the kitchen sink at the wall and just see what sticks. For some people, and a lot of the times we think, again, oh, I can handle more. It's like biting off that I can chew. And then you see the sliding back down the wall. So I will usually start with something small for them as far as nervous system. I will try to warm up with them of like, hey, maybe this person would be good to talk to, like someone like you, like your name is in a lot of the protocols I write. Like, hey, Grace would be a great person to talk to, or my friend Celeste. And starting really, really small with them when it comes to that. And even with the supplements, because I find people use that as a crutch. Like, oh, I'm just going to take all these things. Like, yes, I might need to give their stomach if they're dealing with insane acid reflux. I'll give them something small, but I'm not someone that's like, here's 20 supplements. I think a lot of functional medicine practitioners make a huge mistake. It's a green pharmacy. They're just like, here's all the shit, take it, check in with me in 3 months. But really, most people do need hand holding. They need full accountability. They need to be called forward in a beautiful way, and they need someone mirroring back to them on a regular basis of where their habits are sabotaging their actual progress.
When you I said, like, habits they're
Hmm.
self-sabotaging habits, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. We see it all the time, but we can't see our own all the time, right?
No, no.
That's literally why I say on here, that I've never not there's periods of me not having mentors or help, right? But, like, I can't see my own stuff. I need the help too. So, what would be an example of the people that you see? What are the habits that they carry, that they do, that are, yeah, self-sabotaging their health, but they're not realizing it?
Yeah, and these are people like, let's take another therapist, for example, a client of mine knows all the language, knows how to read people, knows all the things. But completely internally nervous system dysregulated themselves and very stuck in that place for the last year to 2 years. Massive GI issues because of that. And again, those are just byproducts in my opinion. And so for this person, like when I was listening to just like her daily, I was like, tell me what your struggles with sleep is another big symptom. What's your nighttime routine before you go to bed? Like, how are you actually unwinding down? And so many of us go to the TV. I'm watching my TV show with my partner. Like we develop these habits with our partners, especially
Mm.
that we think we're connecting, which is beautiful, but we're still massively neglecting what we might need in that moment. And so I was like, her one step that I want her to work on, I was like, I want you to even just give yourself 10 minutes at night without your partner. I want you to go off into a separate room. Your partner can be a part of it if you want to, if they're willing to engage for accountability reasons, to give yourself, like, figure out for you what helps you unwind. Is that sitting there kind of like swaying back and forth? Is that movement? Is that sitting still? Is that your legs up against the wall, putting on like 432 hertz in your ear, or like bird noises, whatever works for you to really help your nervous system start to calm down before you go to bed, because you're just stimulating yourself with a screen and then wondering why you're struggling to go to bed at night. That's one habit. The client that I had before this, she is definitely like a workaholic, also GI issues. This morning, she had to make a decision. Do I get up and do my morning routine, like that, which I would love for her to have both, or do I get more sleep? And I was like, well, what did you choose? And because normally she's existing on like 5 hours of sleep. And because she works really late, and she's like, I actually chose sleep. And I was like, yes, because she only got 6 hours and 10 minutes of sleep after that, but it was 40 minutes more than she typically get. And so I was like, that's a win. So like we're starting with small things where, yes, a morning routine. I'd love you to go outside and get sunshine and be up for the sunrise and do all these things. But for a lot of people, her whole thing was like, well, how do I do it all? And I'm like,
Mm.
we can't 180 what's already pretty in concrete already. We have to go small. And so for her, the chronic lack of sleep has been sabotaging. And I was so proud of her today that she chose an extra 40 minutes of sleep. I was like, this is huge. So sometimes it's just something small like that where, you know, there's a whole slew of other stuff I could go up, like chronic not drinking enough water. Like we wonder why we can't poop. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, so it's like little
Mhm.
things like that. I think though what it does come down to, if we like quickly tie it back to the emotional state for her, she's also an eldest daughter. I was like, where in your life are you saying no? Where are you saying no? And that's something that's big for her, that she's working on to learn how to say no more, where she's structuring her jobs. Because entrepreneurs here, we love I quit my 9 to 5 so I can make my own schedule. And I'm like, you're burning out more than you did when you were working a 9 to 5. Like, where's your buffer?
Yeah.
You know, those are like little things that, need to be worked on for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 100% on that.
I
I
mean, I
check
could go
myself a
on
lot
all day about this. I could talk about it all day.
for podcast.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
but I will have to say first that I like really appreciate and love how much you bring in all the factors, right? Like you're obviously looking at the testing and like what's underneath the hood and all the things on a physical level, but so much of what you just said and what you talk about is emotions, sleep,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
the basics of taking care of yourself
Basics.
or
Being
not
a
or saying
human.
no, right?
Like, where are you
Exactly. And
scheduling fun? You know what I mean? Like, where are you scheduling joy in your life? And, I'll hear people with every excuse under the sun. And I'm just like, nope. Like, you're already hitting a roadblock because of your own thinking around it. Everyone has the same
Mhm.
24 hours. We have different scenarios. Some of us have kids, some of us are working multiple jobs. Well, if we can't find 5 minutes in our day, you know what I mean? Like we gotta really rework this a little bit. Some of us struggling asking for help or receiving help. If we're feeling like we're drowning and like, do you ask anyone for help? Nope. How are you when someone wants to offer you help? Nope. And I'm like, where can we work on shifting the narrative or like getting it to wiggle a little bit more? And for a lot of people, it's just the awareness is step one. And I think this is why
Mhm.
I love my function medicine world, but I mean, you've experienced this, why so many things fail and why I get people, I'm usually the last person people will come to because they've done all the things. And I was like, I can tell, but still mission, so, and sometimes they don't
Yep.
like it. They're squirming to avoid. I get it. It's hard. You have to die. It's like you're going through your dark night of the soul, so to say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when you have, like when you've gone down all when you think that you've overturned every, stone and gone through every door and tried all the things, it's
Yeah.
then you're jaded, then you're exhausted, then you don't know what else to do, but also so you're not gonna not try. At least that's
Right.
usually the people that come to me too, right? Like, last case scenario, almost like a give up,
Mhm.
like, "All right, fine, I guess I'll go
Toss the
help
towel in,
my
let's see what.
emotional." Yeah, I guess I'll help my
Yeah.
nervous system now.
Yeah.
Um and like, yeah, obviously, totally get it. I get it. Societal expectations are reversed and they're a little bit effed up in terms of it's really hard to go do something fun or say no. And if that's
Yeah.
hard for you, there's an underlying belief. Like, what does that mean to take time away and pause or be with the people that you want to be with a little bit more? But then there's this nagging thing about work and success that you really
The
are being
shoulds.
pulled to.
Yeah.
The shoulds, all
The
the shoulds.
shoulds. Mhm.
Those things, like everything that you're saying and obviously that I'm saying, the biggest nervous system disruptors, right? The biggest cause to leading down the rabbit hole of your body's breaking down or your body's
Yeah.
doing like experiencing X, Y, and Z, gut issues. And
Mhm.
then, okay, this is a great segue then into because I wanted to talk about you've posted a couple times and you even said on here, talking about female bodies, difference between
Yeah.
that, right? Versus the male
Mhm.
body. You mentioned it in your
Mhm.
history with being an
Mhm.
athlete.
Yep.
So, I mean, there was a post you did, you talked about the fact that women weren't included in medical research till 1993. So there's so much of how we've been treated based on the male body. So I know that's kind of a broad area, like you could go in many different directions, but like I just want you to speak to it because it's mind-boggling the amount of women I talk to that are like, "Oh, huh." Like, okay, for example, I don't think this is helping you. I think it's hurting you. First of all, fasting was based off a male body and so many other things, and you're not actually giving your
Mhm.
body enough fuel. So then there's anxiety, there's a decrease, there's like so many things,
Yeah.
right? So even just that example, we don't know. We just
Mhm.
do what we're.
Well, the internet is so loud. It's like, how do we sift through what's as a practitioner, like most of my feed is other practitioners, and I will see one person say one thing, literally swipe up. The next person is counteracting what the other practitioner just said. And I was like, oh my God, like this is confusing for me.
Talk to us about even just like how you would introduce to a client or someone that, hey, this medical advice, like we don't actually know the effects of it on women, or how do you even just explain that topic to someone?
Yeah, like I think like the fasting, the one that you brought up is a really great question. And I think it depends on who you talk to. I know there's a woman who wrote a book on fasting, and people are like, well, what about that?
Mm.
And like, well, what about perimenopause and postmenopause? That's different than someone that's in their fertile years. It's like, get it. But again, I think it's a case by case situation. Like I've had men come to me who are fasting and I was like, I don't think this is helping you. And then they started eating and they're like, I feel so much better. I was like, mm-hmm. Like again, it's different cultures, ethnicities, genetics. But I'll explain, especially to a woman, I think we've been taught most of our life not to trust our body, um, to give agency away to other people and I get it. We're curious people. Women are very good about researching where, most of my friends who are like men coaches and whatnot, their highest gender population is women, not even men. And because women are always wanting to learn and that curiosity that we naturally have, which I think is beautiful and something I want to acknowledge. And at the same time, it's learning to take our power back because a lot of the times our bodies are already telling us what we need. We just aren't listening to it. Or we're overriding it, or we've been taught to not trust our intuitions and not trust ourselves of like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And so as a woman, depending on what the question is, I'll work with that. But really, this I think science is great, and I always say I'm a science nerd with a soulful range. I'm a big fan of, yes, having scientific studies and having that stuff to back it up, but this is where, like, women were the medicine women. That was one of my posts, is it's like, we were the healers, we were the sages back in the day. We didn't have double blind sided studies to prove something that we already felt or we would see every day with working with people because we're so in tune with back in the day with ourselves and then with just the body in general. And we've really lost sight of that. And so for most, especially the women that I'll work with, is teaching them how to come back into that. It's the same reason where someone comes to me like, I know I should be drinking more water. I'm like, then why aren't you doing it? You know what you should be doing, but we're still not doing it. Why? You know what I mean? Like, that's my biggest thing. So, a lot of these studies that are coming out with women, I'm excited that it's better and more energy and money. Unfortunately, we're still very far away from the comparison to men. But a lot of these studies that come out, I kind of just like horribly say, I'm like, duh. I'm like, we already knew that. Like, thank you for validating something that I already knew, that now that it's a scientific study, you're gonna listen to me and you're gonna believe me. And it's just fascinating to me. So for me as a woman, it's not just about taking your health back. It's about taking your agency back. It's about taking your voice back. It's about taking, again, why so many women suffer from thyroid issues. It's the throat chakra. You're literally not using your voice. You're not speaking your truth. You're not standing up for yourself. You're not saying no. It's the same thing Dr. Gabor Mate always says is, we have 80% of autoimmune conditions. And we've been taught that to like be a doormat, don't be that girl, be the good girl. I'm like, no. And this is why everyone's saying like, be the bitch, like be a bitch, stand up for yourself, say no. If you disappoint people, great. That means you're doing something right. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's for
Mhm.
me is like coming back to this inner knowing, that divine feminine wisdom, that I think if we seen on social media is it's like, oh, I'm gonna like lay down in the tracks and just be this fairy in a field. Yes, we need that rest. That's amazing. And I need your rage. I need your feralness. I need you to express yourself in the paradigm that it is to be a woman. It's not lay down in the tracks and call it a day. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that, yeah.
Yes,
But it's this
100%.
forgetting. Yeah, we need to remember again. We need to remember. That's what I try to teach women.
Yes,
Remember, yes, who you are
that is
and
the
what this is.
most common I see, and I'm the same like you mentioned, we're very similar in, like, pattern recognition, and I can talk to someone for 10 minutes, honestly, probably less, and
Yeah,
feel that and see
yeah,
there's so much like, in my yoga training, I'm like, there's no dantian, there's no, like, grounded rootedness, right? And
Mhm.
your body. And that's
Mhm.
also there the throat and like the pelvic floor, like root are very connected and that.
Yeah.
And there's just this like I'm giving my power over to everyone and everything. And when you're in pain and you're suffering, like of course you're just desperate. Like you want to feel better. I get that. And I try to articulate that the best way possible, and I'm still figuring it out because when I post about this, not everyone gets it. So I'm like, okay, how am I talking about this? But like when you're constantly searching and in that desperate mode, yes, I get it. Help yourself, but also that's still running the fear cycle. That's still running the stress
Yeah.
cycle. And then also you start believing people without even questioning it, right? You start believing everyone telling you to do something without questioning, does this actually
Is
feel
this in my
right? Or,
alignment? Yeah.
yeah. And maybe you don't know at first, you try it out, but you still have to really question instead of keeping going through it. I hear all the time, like, well, I was told this was going to help, so I'm just continuing to do it. And I was like, they're a year into it. I'm like, has it helped at
Mhm.
all in this whole year? Well, not really. I mean, but I don't really know. Like,
Yeah.
that is what I think we all very much so need to rewire as women because it's just so common. We've had to suppress a lot of our opinions and our needs and our rage and our
Yeah.
desires, and
Well,
that's
I'm
another
curious if
podcast
you don't
too.
mind me asking you a question. Is like, as someone who is like jokes around, I've not been diagnosed with this, but I'm like, oh, I have like borderline ADHD. When it comes to like ADHD, I'm very curious your thoughts on this because I love all of these studies that I see come out. And we know it's like a lot of women are diagnosed in their 30s and up and all these things. And people are like, oh, it makes sense. And at the same time, I can't help intuitively be like, is it really an ADHD problem? Or are most women, which is not being addressed, like I love these studies and these connections that they're making with this, and this. But I'm like, are we overstimulated, massively underfueled, like most women are, and completely disconnected from ourselves? Is this really an ADHD problem that we can just medically slap on a term and be like, all right, see you later? This helps you make sense. And then we rationalize, oh, cool. Like, oh, yeah. And we just move on with our day. I'm like, I still think we're like missing the big picture here. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does,
Yeah.
and I'll
I'm
say
curious your
first
thoughts.
and foremost I agree, yes. I will also not claim to be an ADHD expert. I know I'm a therapist, but I
Neither am
don't
I.
claim that.
Yeah.
And also, yes, how could that not factor in? If you receive that diagnosis, if someone came to me, and I don't get this a lot, but I do get this sometimes, and if
Mhm.
they come to me and they're like, "Well, I just learned I have ADHD," I wanna know why is that a thing? Like, what are you experiencing? How long have you been
Yeah.
experiencing it? And
Yeah.
what was your childhood like? What was your environment like? What did you learn? What's going on now?
Where are you
Because
out of alignment in your life
most
now?
of us
Yeah.
most of us are overstimulated. Most of us are not grounded. Most of us are having some sort of identity crisis or lack of purpose or not sure what's going on. And like, how does that not look like ADHD? And then I have to say this too. We got to play, like, put genetics into play. We do. I don't think it's a bogus diagnosis. I don't think
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, it's
But
not like
not as my
IBS.
alliance. Yeah, exactly. Not IBS, which is 100% neuroplastic.
Yes.
But ADHD, I mean, not everyone likes this either, but this is where I align with Gabor
Mhm.
Mate.
Yeah. He has a whole
Check
book
him
on
out.
it.
Exactly, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I mean, trauma, overstimulation, dysregulation, yeah, it's gonna show up and look like ADHD.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a both and.
Yeah. Yeah. I always live my life by like a yes and, or like, tell me more. I'm so curious. Um, yeah, I agree.
Exactly. I feel like we could have, like, multiple episodes on so many different
I
things,
was
and
like,
maybe
I
we
know
will
we're
do
like
that.
approaching, we're approaching the end of it. So I was like, I know we could just keep going and going. There's so many
I
things I want
know.
to talk about.
So, and I think that we should, and we will,
Mhm.
but I do wanna ask this because I've been prompting you, but, like, you have so much wisdom and knowledge. So, if there's someone listening to this and they've been, like, doing the work, they've seen the people, they think they have mold and SIBO and gut issues and whatever, the whole thing,
Mhm.
what would you tell someone like that that hasn't come to you or me? What would you say?
Where to start or
What do you want them to know? Like, they're open. They're like, "Hey, I'm curious. Like, I don't know where to go or what to do next."
Well, number one, I would want them to let them know, like, I understand their frustration. Our systems are not set up to financially, physically, all the things meet them where they're at. I get that. So meeting them in that pain point. Number two is to like really reflect on their life. Like, even if they can't speak the jargon or they don't really fully understand it, maybe they haven't even dove into like a self journey. One thing I do want to say with the mold, just because you've moved out of a moldy house doesn't mean the mold's not still in your body. I think people really need to understand that. But number two is ask yourself, like in your life, where am I out of my alignment? Like, where am I unhappy? Where am I miserable? Why? And for some people, that's scary as hell. Like, because that can mean ending a marriage, moving away from family, leaving a job and not knowing what step B is going to be. There's ways that you can kind of prep yourself for those exits if those are the things, but really getting dialed in that, coming back into the belief that your body is there to serve you, like really there to serve you. And where are you literally ignoring it? Are you distracting yourself? Have you gotten in these habits of like, I watch TV every time after dinner. Like, shut the TV off and go for a walk. You know what I mean? Like, reconnect with nature, go for a walk without your phone. When was the last time you did that? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to always spend money on a practitioner to do free things. I saw someone going off the other day on some girl that was like saying fitness or exercise is non negotiable, like for you to take care of yourself. And somebody goes, I love them, just meeting them where they're at. They're like, this is such a privileged statement to be able to afford a gym membership. And she's like, do you have a sidewalk? Do you have access to a park or a driveway? Do you have access to YouTube? You don't have to. Most people are like concerned about the supplements or the biohacking gadgets or hiring a practitioner. Like, ask yourself, have you nailed, not just for one day or a week or maybe a month, have you literally nailed the basics? Do you drink enough water? Try to make sure it's filtered, please, not tap water. Like, do you eat whole nutrient dense foods most of the time? Do you sleep enough? A lot of people ask me like, what peptide should I take? I'm like, do you sleep 7, 8 hours minimum a night? No, start there. It's way cheaper. You know what I mean? Like, start there.
Mhm.
All these like, do you get movement in? Again, you don't have to be doing CrossFit. Do you at least walk enough? It's just like these very free basics. Are you seeing the daylight or is most of your time spent indoors and staring at screens? Are you getting outside? Could be on a lunch break. Take your meals outside. It's like all of these free, easy little ways that all of us find ways to make excuses for or find distractions and not implementing them. For me, it's like, and again, are you actually regulated within yourself? Like, can you sit with yourself for 5 minutes? The people that tell me like meditation doesn't work for me, it gives me anxiety. I was like, that's your medicine. It's the same reason why they say in yoga, the pose that you hate, that you don't want to do is the pose that you should be doing. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I love that when I saw Dr. Mate speak last week, he was saying that as well, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't have money for this, and this. And like, he's like, nature is free, meditation is free, YouTube is free. He's like, you don't have to spend money to start. And just start with one thing. Don't try to do 10 things at once. Just start with one thing and try to become like really good at it, really consistent with it. And start small. If you're meditating, start 5 minutes a day, maybe up it after a month to 10 minutes a day. Like, don't overwhelm your system too much if it's already overwhelmed. Like, slow it down, slow it down.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Would you add anything to that?
Yes. No. I'll just add, yes, start those things within that. Again, this can be free. There's a billion things like YouTube, how to self-reflect,
Yep.
right? When it comes to emotional journaling, I'm gonna just flag Journal Speak by Nicole Sachs. You can probably get the book from your library or listen to the
Exactly.
podcast.
Library. Yeah.
Like, there's that I will 100% flag as the emotional processing that you could start. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, all good stuff. All awesome
Yeah.
stuff.
Like, you don't
Thank
have
you
to pay
so
thousands
much,
of
Ashley.
dollars. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks for
exactly,
having me.
exactly, and it's a start, it's a foundation because you're gonna be told to do those things no matter who you well, if you work with someone who has the mental, emotional, nervous system component like integrated into their work, you will be told to
Yeah.
do that anyway.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
exactly.
thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate you, Grace. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. You have so much wisdom and like I just
Thank
know this
you.
is going to help people and
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for your
Okay.
time today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And we will link all of Ashley's links below. She has a great Instagram. You can find her and work with her through, I'm sure, her links, website, all the things. And we'll
Yeah,
have
everything's
everything
in there.
linked in the show notes.
Yeah.
Anything you want to highlight in that on that? Anything you're offering or
I'm starting a group program in May, and then I will be doing like different tiers as this year I'm building out for. I want to make things more accessible for people if they aren't ready to fully commit financially or just emotionally to a one-on-one. There's going to be like different tiers that I'm working building on the back end with my assistant this year, just for people to have access. And again, I'm always giving free resources all the time to on my Instagram. And if anyone has questions, like DM me. Again, like I'm here to serve. That's what I'm here to do. So, yeah. Yeah, girl.
amazing? Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. All right. We'll
Yeah.
talk to
I
you
appreciate
next time and
Amazing.
keep healing with grace.
Thank you.